Hi, my name is Balz Kamber. I'm the professor of geology in the School of Natural Sciences. As a geologist, my main interest is try to understand the Earth as a whole, as a planet. In my particular case, I'm interested to understand how the Earth has evolved over different periods of times, billions, millions and thousands of years. Most geological studies start in the field where we map rocks and where we try to understand how they were emplaced. This takes you to many different places. In my case, mainly to the regions of very old rocks on Earth in northern Canada, in southern Africa and in Australia. We don't only need rocks that are old and of the correct age, but they also need to be as well preserved as possible. In the field, we take a hammer, like the one to my right, to obtain the freshest possible rock samples that we will then analyze back in the field, free from modern weathering. We also try to sample from the oldest towards the youngest rock samples in the hope that with the progressively younger samples we can reconstruct a story. Whereas we can develop a working hypothesis already in the field, a more quantitative test of our ideas is only possible here in the lab. In my case, I employ geochemical fingerprinting. Let me illustrate this with an example of my current research. My group tries to understand what happens immediately after a giant meteor impact basin has formed and whether life might have been possible to flourish in these meteor impact craters. This rock here intrigued us because it contains this green glass, which normally is only found in volcanoes. So what did we do? We employed geochemical fingerprinting. This involved grinding the rock up into a powder and turning it into a liquid for analysis. Turning solid rocks into liquid is actually quite fun. You melt them with a flux in an oven and then pour the melt straight into a dilute acid where the rock within minutes dissolves, ready for analysis on the mass spectrometer. When we have the data, we can then compare the chemistry of the rock, its fingerprint, with that of many other rocks known from around the globe. In this case, of this particular green glass, we discovered that it formed at the bottom of the ocean. This example really illustrates one of the fundamental principles of geology, namely that the past can be the key for the present, or even the future. This is particularly true on the timescale of hundreds of thousands of years, more easily understandable than the billion-year timescales that I normally work on. We have fabulous geological archives, such as ice cores, stalagmites, lake sediments, or peat bogs that contain a wonderful record of what has happened at the Earth's surface over the last few thousand to 10,000 of years. This is highly relevant, and we here in the lab reconstruct that by analyzing dust that we retrieve from peat cores, with which we understand how much rain has fallen and how the wind direction has changed. These archives are extremely important to train the models which attempt to predict future climate change and atmospheric warming. The recognition of climate change is not the only reason that geology has become topical. The growing world population is putting enormous strains on the provision of raw materials. And indeed, the infrastructure for a more sustainable energy production in the future, such as wind turbines, solar cells, batteries, all rely on the provision of metals that are extremely rare in nature. And we do currently not understand how we will find sufficient supplies of these metals. For this reason, in this laboratory, we are just starting a new Science Foundation Ireland-funded project that aims to provide these metals for a more sustainable future.